I never thought I'd be the kind of person to feel out of place in my own family. Growing up, I was the brother everyone expected me to be. Strong, quiet, good at sports, a bit clumsy with emotions, and always trying to fit into the mold my parents, my older sister, and the world around me seemed to have carved for me. My sister, Lily, was the opposite. Effortlessly social, glowing with confidence, surrounded by her group of close friends who called themselves the Sisterhood. They were inseparable, laughed too loudly, shared secrets I wasn't allowed to know, and carried this aura of belonging I could never touch. I watched from the sidelines for years, feeling like an outsider. I tried to participate in their jokes, to sit in their hangouts, but something always felt wrong. They didn't see me as one of them, and I didn't fully understand why. My interests were considered weird or boring. My clumsy attempts at humor usually met with polite smiles rather than genuine laughter. It wasn't that they disliked me, they just had this unspoken boundary I wasn't allowed to cross. Then came the summer before my final year of high school. I had just turned 17, and that's when everything began to shift. Lily came home one evening, her face glowing with excitement, practically bouncing through the living room. "Guess what?" she said. "We're doing something new this summer. The Sisterhood wants to host a transformation workshop. And I think you should join." I froze. "Me? Are you serious?" I couldn't hide my disbelief. She rolled her eyes but smiled, sensing my hesitation. "Don't overthink it. It's just an experiment. A social experiment. Kind of like those personality building things. Everyone will pick a persona to explore, try on different sides of themselves. You could, maybe try being a part of our group." My stomach churned. I wanted desperately to belong, but the idea of stepping into their world terrified me. I'd always imagined them in skirts, glittering accessories, soft laughter echoing in perfect harmony. I'd never worn anything remotely feminine, never touched makeup, never dared experiment with fashion beyond my jeans and old band t-shirts. But the idea of finally being seen, being included, was too tempting to ignore. "Okay," I said, almost whispering, "I'll do it." Lily grinned and hugged me tightly. "You won't regret it. Trust me." The first day of the workshop was surreal. I entered a room filled with mirrors, racks of clothes I didn't even know existed, and girls chatting like they were at a party rather than a life-changing experiment. The air smelled like perfume and nail polish, and I felt every ounce of my self-consciousness tighten around me. The workshop leader, a warm woman named Mara, smiled at me knowingly. "Ah, the new member," she said. "You don't have to be anyone but yourself. But are you ready to see who that might be?" I nodded, trying to steady my voice. "I think so." The first steps were simple. Choose an outfit from the racks. My hands trembled as I sifted through skirts, blouses, and dresses, eventually picking a soft pink dress with delicate lace at the sleeves. My heart pounded as I looked at it, and I wondered what Lily would say. Mara noticed my hesitation. "It's not about looking perfect. It's about feeling something new. Try it." I slipped behind a curtain and changed. When I emerged, the room fell quiet for a moment. I didn't recognize the reflection staring back at me. My features looked different, softer somehow. My hair fell into waves I'd never known I could have. I saw a version of myself I'd never allowed to exist, and it was terrifying and thrilling. Lily's smile was radiant. "You look amazing," she said, and the warmth in her voice broke something open inside me. For the first time, I didn't feel like the outsider brother. I felt visible. The next part of the workshop involved makeup. Mara guided me gently, teaching me to blend, to highlight, to play with colors I'd only ever admired from a distance. At first, my hands shook, and my attempts looked ridiculous. But as the brush stroked across my face, something inside me shifted. I was no longer performing for anyone. I was discovering myself. Each layer of makeup was like peeling away the self-doubt I'd carried for years. By the end of the first day, I had become a different person. Or maybe I had finally become the person I had always been inside. My sister hugged me, her eyes shimmering. "You're one of us now," she whispered. And for the first time, I believed her. But belonging came with its own challenges. Even though I had stepped into the Sisterhood, Old fears didn't vanish overnight. I worried about what my friends at school would say, about my parents' reactions, about the whispers behind closed doors. Some mornings, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the soft contours, the polished nails, the flowing hair. It was exciting, but it was also terrifying. Then came the first real test. A group photo with the Sisterhood, their arms wrapped around each other, laughing naturally, while I tried to find the right angle, the right pose, the right smile. One wrong move, and I'd be exposed as a fraud, a brother pretending to be something I wasn't. But as Lily leaned in, squeezed my shoulder, and whispered, "You belong," I felt a courage I hadn't known before. That night, as I took off the dress and washed away the makeup, I realized something profound. This wasn't just play. This wasn't a game. I was discovering a hidden part of myself, a version that had been buried under years of expectations. And I couldn't wait to explore it further. Little did I know, the journey had only just begun. The real transformations, the challenges, the secrets, the moments of courage, were yet to come. And they would test everything I thought I knew about myself, my family, and what it truly meant to belong. The next morning, I woke up with a strange mix of excitement and dread. My body felt the same, but my mind was already spinning with the possibilities of the day ahead. Lily knocked on my door, peeking in with her usual mischievous grin. "Ready for round 2?" she asked, her voice teasing but warm. I swallowed hard, nodding, and followed her to the workshop. When I entered, the room felt even more alive than before. The Sisterhood was buzzing with chatter, and for the first time, I noticed the subtle dynamics between them. Some girls were leaders, guiding the activities with ease. Others were shy but curious, a few looked skeptical of me. I could feel their eyes following me, assessing me. The thought made my stomach twist. I knew that being accepted today would take more than just wearing a dress or applying makeup. I had to act the part, blend in, show them I could be one of them. Mara began the day with a new exercise. Persona exploration. "Today, we'll dive deeper," she said. "Choose a persona that reflects not what you think you should be, but what you want to discover in yourself." I glanced at Lily. Her persona always seemed effortless, confident, vibrant. And then my eyes wandered over the mirror-lined walls and the racks of clothes. I realized that yesterday's pink dress was just the beginning. I wanted something more, something that felt daring, that could push me past the fear I still carried. I picked a flowing teal dress with a subtle shimmer and long sleeves. Something about it called to me, like it was daring me to step into a new identity. Changing behind the curtain, I felt my heartbeat accelerate. When I emerged, the room went quiet again, not in judgment, but in genuine surprise. The dress hugged me in places I didn't expect, but it also allowed me to breathe, to move in ways I had never felt comfortable before. My hair fell naturally, and with a few light strokes of mascara and blush, I began to see a version of myself that felt like both a stranger and a long-lost friend. The workshop activities started gently, with conversation exercises. We shared stories, small secrets, and confessions about ourselves. When it was my turn, my voice trembled. "I've always felt, outside of things," I admitted. "Like I'm the brother watching, never really participating. And I want to belong. I want to be part of something." A hush fell over the group. Then, Lily reached over and took my hand. "You are part of us," she whispered. The other girls smiled, some nodding, some laughing lightly as if my confession had opened a new space for them to accept me. Mara clapped softly. "Acknowledging that feeling is the first step toward transformation," she said. But the challenge wasn't just about feelings, it was about trust. Later, we paired up for a creative activity. Each person would help the other create a look that reflected their chosen persona. I ended up with a girl named Sophie, quiet but sharp-eyed, who gave me a look that made my stomach tighten. "I'll be honest," she said softly, "I didn't think you'd do this. But if you really want to belong, let's make sure you don't just look the part, feel it." Sophie guided me through layers of makeup I hadn't even considered. Contouring, highlighting, soft eyeshadows, and even trying a new hairstyle. Each step felt like a revelation. With every brushstroke, I was shedding my old insecurities, and yet the fear lingered. What if this was just temporary? What if, once the workshop ended, I had to go back to the boy everyone thought I was. By the end of the day, I was unrecognizable to my old self. Standing in the mirror, I almost didn't recognize the confident, radiant reflection. My heart raced, not from vanity, but from the realization that I had unlocked something I didn't even know existed. Sophie smiled, handing me a delicate hair accessory. "You're doing great," she said. "Just remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about discovery." That night, when I got home, I kept replaying every moment in my head. My parents hadn't said much about my absence. They probably assumed it was just a normal summer activity, but I couldn't stop thinking about what would happen if they found out the truth. What would they think of this new part of me? And more importantly, could I ever go back to my old self once I had tasted this freedom? The next week was even more intense. The Sisterhood began to plan a bonding day, a private event outside the workshop where they would test our trust and commitment. Rumors swirled that some members had been practicing secret personas at home, taking the transformation even further. I realized that if I wanted to truly belong, I had to embrace it fully, not just in the workshop, but in my private life as well. I started experimenting at home, practicing makeup techniques, hairstyles, and outfits in secret. Each time, I felt a rush of excitement and fear. The first time I walked around the house fully dressed in front of the mirror, I caught a glimpse of my parents' reflection through the living room window. My heart stopped. What if they saw me like this? But the thrill of being myself, even in secrecy, was intoxicating. The day of the bonding event arrived. We gathered at a rented studio, all of us in full transformation. The energy was electric. Laughter, whispers, and admiration filled the room as each person revealed their persona. When it was my turn, I stepped forward nervously. The reflection in the mirror startled me. I was no longer the shy, awkward brother. I was someone bold, someone daring, someone ready to be part of a group I had only dreamed of joining. The girls cheered, and Lily hugged me tightly. "Welcome officially," she whispered. "You're one of us." And in that moment, I realized that belonging wasn't just about appearances. It was about courage, honesty, and the willingness to explore who you truly are. But even as I basked in the warmth of acceptance, I knew that the real challenges were just beginning. Secrets, judgments, and the question of how much of this new self could survive outside this sanctuary loomed ahead. After the bonding event, I thought I had finally found my place. I woke up each day excited to practice, to learn, to grow into this new persona that felt more authentic than anything I had ever experienced. But the real world doesn't wait for you to feel ready. The first crack appeared in the most unexpected way: school. Walking through the halls, I realized I couldn't carry the confidence of the workshop into my everyday life just yet. The kids in my grade weren't cruel, but they were perceptive, and I could feel their curiosity, subtle stares, whispered jokes, and the occasional double-take that made my stomach twist. I tried to blend in, keeping my persona strictly within the safe walls of the Sisterhood. But even then, every glance at a mirror made me question myself. Was I truly ready to show this side of me outside the studio? Could I risk being seen, being judged, being misunderstood? Lily noticed my hesitation. That evening, she sat me down in the living room, her tone gentle but firm. "You're scared," she said. "And that's okay. But remember, being part of the Sisterhood isn't just about clothes or makeup. It's about courage. You've already taken the hardest steps, you just have to keep going." Her words lingered in my mind. The next weekend, the Sisterhood invited me to a small social gathering, a casual meet-up at a cafe, no formal workshop, just the girls hanging out. My heart pounded as I prepared. I chose a soft lavender dress, paired it with delicate flats, and carefully styled my hair. I was terrified, but I reminded myself, this was another chance to belong, another opportunity to prove to myself that I could step into the world fully as me. The cafe was buzzing with energy, the clinking of cups and laughter creating a comforting hum. I spotted the girls in a corner, already chatting and sipping coffee. Lily waved me over, her smile steady and reassuring. I took a deep breath and approached. At first, it was awkward, small talk, nervous laughter, but gradually, I relaxed. The girls welcomed me with genuine warmth, their teasing light-hearted, their smiles encouraging. I felt a surge of belonging I had never experienced before. But the outside world has a way of intruding, no matter how safe a space feels. As we left the cafe, walking down the street together, I felt the weight of stares from passers-by. I could sense the judgment, the curiosity, the unspoken questions. My confidence wavered. Sophie noticed immediately. "Ignore them," she said softly. "They're just seeing what they can't understand. We see you." Her words were a balm, but I couldn't shake the unease. That night, I lay in bed replaying every moment. The thrill of being accepted by the sisterhood clashed with the fear of being misunderstood or ridiculed outside their walls. I realized that transformation wasn't just about appearance, it was about integrating this identity into my life, and that was terrifying. Then came the hardest part: my parents. I hadn't intended to reveal anything yet. My mom had always been affectionate but traditional, my dad quiet and protective. I worried endlessly about their reactions. One evening, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. The persona I had cultivated felt real, undeniable. I touched my hair, adjusted my dress, and knew that hiding it forever wasn't an option. I had to take a step forward. I decided to start small. I wore a subtle version of my persona at home: blouse and skirt, soft makeup, confident posture. My parents noticed. My mom raised an eyebrow, curious but not judgmental. My dad didn't say much, but his eyes lingered a second too long. The silence was heavy. That night, my heart raced as I tried to interpret their reactions. Acceptance, confusion, concern, it was all tangled together, and I didn't know how to respond. At school, I faced a new challenge. A group of classmates, noticing my growing confidence, began teasing. It was never cruel, more playful, but sharp enough to sting. I felt the familiar panic rising. For the first time, I wondered if I had made a mistake. Was the sisterhood worth it? Was this persona just a fantasy that didn't belong in the real world? But then I remembered Lily's words, Sophie's reassurance, the warmth of the sisterhood. I realized I wasn't alone. Belonging wasn't just about being accepted by everyone. It was about accepting myself and finding people who could see me clearly. I stood taller, squared my shoulders, and walked through the hallway, facing their whispers with a mixture of pride and vulnerability. The turning point came unexpectedly. During a workshop session, Mara introduced a reflection exercise. We were asked to share our fears and how they affected our journey. My hands shook as I spoke. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm scared of being judged, of being rejected, of losing this part of myself if people can't accept it." The room was quiet, then slowly, one by one, the girls shared similar fears, insecurities about their appearances, doubts about their identities, worries about being misunderstood. In that moment, I realized something profound. Transformation isn't about perfection or hiding fear. It's about embracing it, owning it, and stepping forward anyway. The sisterhood wasn't just a group of friends, it was a mirror reflecting courage back at me, showing me that I could face the world as my authentic self, even when it was terrifying. By the end of part 3, I understood that the journey wasn't linear. Belonging came with challenges, doubts, and external pressures, but it also brought strength, connection, and the realization that identity is something we shape, not something that shapes us. The next stage of my journey would test me even further, requiring courage, honesty, and the ultimate decision about who I wanted to be in every part of my life. The weeks that followed felt like living in two worlds at once. At the workshop and with the sisterhood, I was fearless, radiant, and fully myself. At home and school, I was cautious, measured, always scanning the environment for judgment or misunderstanding. It was exhausting, and some days, I wondered if I could maintain this duality forever. But the more I immersed myself in the sisterhood, the more I realized that courage wasn't about avoiding fear, it was about facing it. The turning point came with a summer gala the sisterhood organized, an event that would bring together all members and even invited a few guests. The theme was Shine Your True Self, and the idea was to celebrate transformation, authenticity, and courage. I had never attended anything like it. The thought of stepping into that room, in full persona, in front of dozens of people, both familiar and unknown, made my hands tremble. But the excitement underneath my fear pushed me forward. I spent hours preparing. I chose a deep emerald gown that flowed elegantly, paired with subtle gold accessories. My hair was styled into soft curls, and my makeup was polished but natural, highlighting features I had once hidden behind oversized hoodies and awkward smiles. Standing in front of the mirror, I barely recognized myself. But this was the moment I had been waiting for, the chance to show the world the part of me I had been nurturing in secret. Lily hugged me tightly before we left. "Tonight," she whispered, "you're not just part of the sisterhood. You're shining. Don't hold back." Her words resonated in me as we entered the venue. The room was alive with laughter, music, and colorful lights reflecting off elegant dresses and sparkling eyes. The air buzzed with excitement and anticipation. I felt my heart race, not from fear, but from the exhilarating sense of possibility. As the evening unfolded, I navigated conversations, laughter, and group activities with a newfound confidence. The girls treated me like one of them, no hesitation, no judgment. Sophie smiled knowingly every time I hesitated, and Lily's presence was like a steady anchor. It was intoxicating, being seen, being accepted, being part of a family that embraced me fully. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like an outsider. Then came the moment of truth, a group photograph in the center of the room, everyone linking arms and smiling at the camera. My hands trembled as I stepped into position, but Lily squeezed my shoulder. "You're one of us," she reminded me. I smiled, truly smiled, and felt an overwhelming sense of belonging wash over me. In that moment, all the fear, the doubts, the whispers of judgment I had imagined outside the sisterhood faded. I was home. After the gala, we gathered for a quiet debrief. Mara spoke softly, guiding us through reflections on courage, identity, and acceptance. "Transformation isn't just about what you wear," she said. "It's about who you allow yourself to become. And true belonging comes when you embrace that fully, without apology." I nodded, understanding on a deeper level than I ever had. The persona I had cultivated was no longer a mask, it was a part of me, inseparable and real. That night, I returned home, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't known existed. I reflected on the journey, the timid boy who had watched from the sidelines, the hesitant participant in the workshop, the nervous newcomer at social gatherings, and now the confident, radiant member of the sisterhood. Every step had been terrifying, every moment uncertain, but the reward was worth it. A family of friends who saw me, understood me, and accepted me without condition. In the following weeks, I began integrating this identity more openly into my life. At home, my parents noticed subtle changes. Confidence in posture, soft expressions, a warmth in my interactions they hadn't seen before. My mother's questions were gentle, curious, and supportive. My father's quiet observation became a form of acceptance. Slowly, I realized that living authentically didn't require hiding or pretending. It required honesty and courage. At school, I faced moments of scrutiny and whispers, but they no longer terrified me. I had the strength of the sisterhood behind me, the affirmation of my own identity, and the realization that judgment says more about others than it does about me. I walked the halls with poise, blending my old world and new self in a way that felt natural. And while some peers remained curious or uncertain, I knew that I could navigate the world as my authentic self, without fear or shame. Looking back, I see that my journey from outsider brother to sisterhood member wasn't just about dresses, makeup, or social acceptance. It was about courage, self-discovery, and the power of embracing who you truly are. Transformation is never easy. It's messy, complicated, and filled with doubts. But it is also beautiful, liberating, and life-changing. And now, when I see my reflection, I no longer see two versions of myself fighting for recognition. I see one person, a person who has walked through fear, embraced vulnerability, and found a place where she belongs. I see someone who has discovered that family isn't always about blood, and identity isn't always defined by expectation. Belonging is something we claim, piece by piece, through courage, honesty, and the willingness to be truly seen. As I stand now, fully embraced by the sisterhood, I realize the truth. Transformation isn't just a change on the outside. It's a declaration to the world, and to yourself, that you will live as your authentic self, unapologetically, beautifully, and courageously. And that, I have learned, is worth more than any fear, any doubt, or any judgment that might try to hold you back. I am no longer the outsider brother. I am a member of the sisterhood. I am myself, fully and fearlessly, and nothing will ever take that away.